Good afternoon, and welcome to the on-record portion of the Rockbridge Report. I'm Hannah Esqueda, and joining me today is Jeri Schaff of the Maury River Senior Center. Jeri, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me, Hannah.
So I guess my first question is, why did you decide to become involved with the Senior Center?
Well, I have a kind of long and checkered history in nonprofit, and I was working for United Way in this community and saw what the challenges were for people who are older in this community. And when a partnership of organizations, including United Way, including Valley Program for Aging Services, including the 3 jurisdictions, all got together to decide to build a real senior center. It was intriguing for me, and so I kind of made it known that I would consider the opportunity.
So what age groups does the center try to?
We serve everyone 60 and older, and we also serve anyone who has Medicare, and that can be people younger than 60 who are disabled.
Okay, and what kind of services does the center offer to the community?
We offer a very wide range of services. People think of the senior center kind of as just a building where activities go on, and a big part of it is that. We kind of describe ourselves as a boys and girls club for people with some mileage. But there's all kinds of activities going on, and we serve lunch 5 days a week. We have crafts and music and social activities and educational activities, but it's more than that. We do a lot of service for frail elders in this community who are homebound, who need support in order to stay in their own homes. So we deliver, for instance, between 40 and 60 Meals on Wheels every day. We provide personal care. We provide some transportation services. We provide a lot of insurance counseling, care coordination, and case management.
You mentioned the transportation services. Is that your partnership with RATS?
We provide transportation on a couple of levels. We have our own vans, and we do transport some people to the center, but we also have a partnership with RATS because it seemed to us to be a waste of resources to have the RATS vans going back and forth between Lexington and Buena Vista and not bringing people from Lexington to the senior center in Buena Vista. So by contract, we use the RATS vans and are able to provide our Lexington residents with a sliding scale fee.
Okay. Recently, the new Maury Express bus line began running. Have you noticed any sort of impact on the number of people who now come to your center?
We are just barely starting to see it. Last week, we had our first participant who got on the bus, the Maury Express, I'm sorry, in Lexington with his guitar and came for music practice and rode home again. This week we've had a few more who come for music practice. We've also had a few of our line dancers use the Maury Express. So we're just starting to see it build, and we expect that it will continue to build as people get up kind of the courage to try it out and see how it works.
So how do you think that the new bus line is going to affect other members of the community's everyday lives? Do you see it as being a big change?
I do. I have been convinced for many years that one of the biggest challenges in this community is affordable, accessible transportation. It is very difficult, no matter what your age, to manage in this community if you don't have your own transportation, particularly with the economy the way it is, and for elders who are losing, for one reason or another, the ability or the confidence to drive safely. It becomes a real issue. And so I've been working on one area or another with transportation for years and years, and I'm thrilled to see the Maury Express here finally.
So this has been a long time coming.
It has been. It was highlighted, for instance, in the poverty report that W&L students did a number of years ago as one of the major issues that faces this community.
Okay. And do you think that this will encourage people to get out in the community and take advantage of more of the opportunities that are offered to them by groups like yours?
I truly hope so. And I think that as people get used to the bus route, get familiar with it, kind of change their mindset from I walk out my door, I get into a vehicle, I go to where I'm going, I get out of the vehicle and go in that door, and kind of adopt the mindset that communities that have had public transportation for years already have. I think that it will offer freedom and independence and empowerment to people who don't have it right now.
Is that one of the main goals of your senior center, to offer a sort of like independence to senior citizens?
Definitely, definitely. Our main point and our main mission in all of Valley Program for Aging Services is to provide whatever support we can to keep people out of nursing homes for as long as possible. Now, for very frail folks, that's in-home services. But for folks who aren't so frail, that's the opportunity to get out and socialize and use their minds and use their bodies and have a reason to go somewhere and interact with people, because it keeps them young longer.
I know that you said earlier you had worked with the United Way before coming over to the senior center.
I did.
Have you noticed any major differences between your work at the United Way and the senior center?
There are, in some ways, vast differences, but in some ways, nonprofit is nonprofit is nonprofit, which means you're always working with too little money and too much to do. But working in a single agency kind of narrows your field of vision a little bit. At United Way, it's a much broader field of vision, a much broader involvement with various parts of the community, with the very young to the very old and everything in between. Where we are now, where I am now, I have a much more focused kind of vision of where I need to go.
And where do you see the senior center eventually going?
Well, that's an interesting question, because we have just celebrated our 6th anniversary, and I was sitting with our former board chair, who was the chair at the time that we opened 6 years ago, reminiscing just a couple weeks ago, and we thought about when we first opened the center, the day before we opened, and there was very little furniture, and the building was empty, and we'd spent months and months and months remodeling. And we said, what have we done? What if nobody comes? And now we're out of space. We have to be very careful about the scheduling we do so we don't end up with bridge players and line dancers in the same room at the same time, because they don't get along real well. You know, long-term vision, I would love to see this community have the resources and the will to build a senior center that was built to be a senior center rather than a building remodeled for use as a senior center.
So you see it sort of expanding? I
do. Part of the reason, Hannah, is because there is a tsunami of all of us coming, which is the baby boomers. Oh. And there will be many, many more, and the percentage will be higher. And, you know, we're never going to get old. And so we're going to want activities. We're not going to be content to sit at home and crochet and, you know, whittle little figures out of wood. We're going to continue to want to do active things, and the senior center will be a way to provide that.
Okay. And what do you think of the recent news that the United Way is going to be expanding its services into the Buena Vista area? And
I think it's marvelous. I think it is fantastic. It will be helpful to the agencies that are funded by United Way, because I don't think any of us make any distinction among the people that we serve between people who live in Buena Vista or Rockbridge County or the city of Lexington. But because the United Way, the old United Way of Lexington, Rockbridge County, funded only services in Lexington and Rockbridge County, and the Buena Vista United Fund funded services only for residents of Buena Vista, it was a kind of bookkeeping nightmare to try and figure out, did you have enough BV dollars to serve this person with Meals on Wheels, or did you have too many dollars allocated for Lexington when you really needed them in the county? And so this will be wonderful. It's another way of bringing this community together. And in the time I've been here, I've seen that more and more and more, where it's not three very distinct groups, each only looking at their own needs. And the senior center, as a matter of fact, is one of the first examples of interjurisdictional cooperation, and it seems to have worked pretty well.
Oh, so you've been receiving funding from both of them?
The building that we are in is owned by the city of Buena Vista, but the three jurisdictions each help to pay the mortgage, the building insurance, the utilities, and the exterior maintenance. And they split those costs every year based on the percentage of their residents who are attending the senior center.
Okay. So you've been keeping track of which community has
Definitely.
the most people taking advantage?
Definitely.
So which community is the one who?
For the year that we ended in September, we have about 44% of our participants coming from Rockbridge County, about 25% coming from the city of Lexington, and the remainder from the city of Buena Vista.
Oh, okay. And what kind of impact do you hope to see? Do you think that there will be a change in funding for the senior center? Do you think that the United Way will be able to provide it with more funding now?
It's hard to know. I think they've got a big job ahead of them because they have campaigned. They have done fundraising only in Lexington and Rockbridge County. So they've got some ground to plow in terms of making contacts with employers and citizens of the city of Buena Vista to get that fundraising going in Buena Vista. So I think they're going to have some work to do, but I think in the long run, whether or not they can provide more funding than the two organizations put together did in the past remains to be seen, but I still think that it's a wonderful way to go to kind of show this community that, you know, there's fewer than 35,000 of us all put together. That's smaller than a lot of small cities. Mm-hmm. And for us to be divided into thirds or even two pieces is kind of silly.
So you hope that these recent changes with the new bus line and the United Way expanding will help to bring the three areas closer together?
I truly hope so. There's not enough of us to go around for us to be squabbling with each other. We've got better battles to fight.
Okay. And so during all your years working with nonprofits, in communities in the area, have you seen, thank you for joining us. I'm Hannah Escada with the On Record portion of the Rockbridge Report.